So coming out on stage was terrifying, and then it was wonderful because of the energy, and then watching the trailer and everything for the first time was awesome. I think it's funny because Kelly was saying, you know, you can be told all this stuff and you can't really prepare for it. Like, how can you prepare for 3,500 people? Just like the amount of love, and it's just like it doesn't really happen like that often, and certainly to be on stage receiving it. So it's a lot. I think I'll probably sleep very well tonight because I'm like riding on adrenaline, and then you'll be like, doing, done. I think for me personally, it's probably the way that people talk about their kids and the response to Rey. Because it's funny, because I still feel like slightly, I'm always like, because I feel like I'm not fully, it feels like a very disjointed kind of thing. But when I properly think about the impact of a character like this in a big franchise, it's wonderful.
What percentage of this film are you carrying Luke Skywalker on your back, Yoda style?
I'd say like 99%, and then the other 1% he says some words. No, that was so funny that day, and also him bringing it up, like all this stuff that I'd forgotten we did.
Well, give me a sense of, it seems like there's a dysfunctional relationship maybe going. It might not be all harmonious in Daisy Luke land. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. I think not harmonious. I think it's just that thing of there were all these expectations on Luke right from the beginning. This is your calling, this is your thing, this is what you have to do. You have to train, and then you have to do this, that, and the other. And then clearly something's taken him away. And much like Rey, there's all this expectation on her, and this is your calling, and you should be this thing, and go and save the galaxy by giving this thing to Luke. So in a way, they're kind of both similar in that, but she's very much looking up to him to be this thing that she thinks he is. And a long time's passed, so
you know our eternal conversation that will continue at the end of time about your parentage, obviously. I'm as anxious for this to be resolved, so I don't have to ask you about it anymore as you. But when you found out, were you surprised about what you learned, or in the way it's divulged?
Well, in the parent thing? Yeah. The one thing I have seen, because I did some ADR last week, I saw a little clip of something that I didn't know was going to happen in it. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I think quite a few actually questions that people have are answered in this.
It's Jar Jar appears, and that's what shocked you. That's what you're saying.
It's actually Jabba.
It's a different way to go. Okay.
It's a different way to go, but Jabba met this like super cool girl, and you know they had this thing for a while. It was like a summer romance. Right. And you know, what do you know?
Rey favors more of the mother side. It's fair to say.
Exactly, or so we think.
I don't even know what to make of that.
Halfway through, become like a kind of weird slug person.
So give me a sense this time around of working with Mark, because a much different kind of a vibe than Harrison gives off. I mean,
and as I was talking to someone earlier, I was actually vomiting pretty much the whole day that me and Mark worked together for the first time. I had adrenal exhaustion, and I had an intravenous drip, and I was in this yellow tent while he was doing his side. So I can do it. I can do my side, I promise. And half the tears was emotion, and also half of it was like, I don't think I can hold my hand up anymore. But him and Harrison are very different, yeah. And also the dynamic is so different. Han is very sure of himself, and the whole thing's like, you know, he's got that thing. And Luke, after a long time away and everything, it's a different feeling.
A little more tortured, less swagger than Han, right?
Yes. And also it's like, you know, his calling, as it were, is not going away. So it's like yet another foray into this thing that, as he said, you know, they left it behind. Like there was an end in episode 6. So yeah, it was super. But it was very exciting. Plus, like to get to work with Mark was amazing, and then to kind of develop that relationship is super cool.
Your voice?
Yes.
And are you speaking to Rey?
It's possible.
I think there's a response in there, and it sounds like it's my voice.
Light. Darkness.
Is it you that's saying...
It's time for the Jedi to end. It is.
So what has happened to you
Well,
to reach this point?
I think that's the only story point that's in the teaser. I can't really describe more, but it was as shocking to me to read what Ryan had written as I'm sure it will be for the audience.
I think how the Last Jedi starts and the journey we go on is perhaps unexpected.
Do you make a turn to the dark side? Is that possible?
It's possible. Anything's possible.
The first scene of the movie, produced by ABC's parent company Disney, picks up exactly where The Force Awakens left off. Rey finds the elusive Luke Skywalker who's gone into exile.
Literally a cliffhanger. I love that, the metaphor of me standing on a cliff.
When you guys read the script, were there some big surprises in there even for you?
Yeah. I went to Ryan's office and I was like, we need to have a talk about what's happening here.
When I read 8, I told Ryan, I fundamentally disagree with virtually everything you've decided about my character. But might be a good sign, because I was really wrong about 7. I said, when I turn around, the audience is going to hoot and holler because it's such an obvious cheat. I didn't foresee John Williams' incredible music and the shots of Daisy, the build-up to it all. So I was never happier to be wrong.
You seem to be much more proficient with the lightsaber.
I mean, The Force Awakens, that was all right.
She picked up a copy of Lightsaber Duels for Dummies.
Everybody wants to know who you are, where you're from, who your parents are. Will that all be answered in The Last Jedi?
It's very interesting because I didn't know, Mark was telling me, I didn't know that when Darth Vader said, I'm your father, people didn't believe it. They didn't believe that it was true. And it was interesting because at the end of Force Awakens, I thought everyone was going to be like, oh, cool, that's been answered, but it hasn't. And I think even though a lot of questions are answered in The Last Jedi, I think it's still that thing of discovery.
I still don't think of her in the past tense. She's so alive.
She was such a big part of these Star Wars
Of course.
celebrations. Does it hit you on a different level that she's not here with you?
Yeah, because she made everything more fun. If she were next to me, she'd crash my interview, I'd crash hers. It was impossible to be around her and not have so much fun.
This next generation of Star Wars actors clearly carrying on Fisher's vivacity.
It is such an emotional experience for these fans.
It's wonderful to be part of something that unites people in a very joyous, positive way is unusual and phenomenal. So I can say that where we left off in the Force Awakens, we began to which I'm still processing, I think. It was amazing to be in the room with everyone. I literally had not seen it. I had no idea what to expect. But I think later on I'm going to be like, digest it slightly more, because right now I'm just a bit busy.
Or is it still crazy?
It's still, it kind of hits me in bursts. Like after The Force Awakens came out, I was like, oh my god, I can't leave my house. And then I was filming anyway, and then I started going on the tube again. So I don't think I will ever be what Leia is. So I don't really feel a responsibility. I feel a great sadness, obviously. But I don't think about it in those terms. That's just an awful, loss that we've all experienced. So I'm just going to try and carry on doing justice to Rey. Yeah.
So how is Rey's relationship with Luke in this movie different from like Luke's relationship with, say, Yoda or Obi-Wan?
Well, Rey is not a teacher. Yoda and Obi-Wan are very much like guiding figures in Luke's life. And Rey, I think, obviously he doesn't even know who she is when she turns up, like with this frickin' lightsaber that he's not seen in however long. So that in itself is a big difference. And then as things go on, I think there's an expectation. There's always been an expectation on Luke as to his potential and what he can do and what he should do, much like with Rey. So in that sense, they're kind of similar. But obviously the dynamic has changed because she's expecting something from him this time, and it remains to be seen whether, how he reacts to that.
And how do you?
I think I've spoken to a number of people that have seen a rough cut, and everyone's like, it's different. So I think with Ryan's vision and his image, and also I think he had JJ, brought the old fans back and the new fans in, and he had all this stuff. And Ryan, I think, had more room to kind of do his thing. Not that JJ didn't, that sounds wrong. But as in there was just more room for everything to breathe this time. God, that sounds wrong too.
More risk maybe more risk taking.
I think more just the different direction thing I think happens more in this one, yeah.
Great. Good luck with the family.
Thank you. Oh my god, I literally feel like I just said such awful things about JJ. I love him.
No.
And now I'm going bright red.
What more can you give us? We see this very far away shot of somebody practicing with a lightsaber. I'm assuming that is Rey, yeah?
That is Rey, yes. What more can I tell you? I just think we pick up right where we left off, so everyone obviously knows the momentum that's kind of built to that moment, and the audience is going to watch this thing unfold as Rey is. Rey is meeting Luke for the first time, and it's this whole thing and all these expectations and everything that goes on, we're all in it together. I think I feel more nervous this time because you want to carry on being that thing for people, especially people with daughters who are coming up to me and like telling me how much it means to them. What we hear Luke say in the trailer about the Jedi must end, the whole audience was like, what? John was like, what? I missed that bit. I think it's just a certain expectation that people have, and perhaps that being challenged or going in a different direction.
It looks like you're going to get some training scenes, maybe a sweet 80s training montage. That would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
What challenges does Rey face in the new film?
Physical ones, yes. Like training-wise, it was funny because I felt like in the first fight I was much weaker than I am now. I really worked on my strength and I trained really hard. She's just been pushed into this world and everyone's telling her this thing that she is. Kind of how I feel. She needs time to catch up and also time to work out for herself what it is that is happening and how she's feeling and everything.
Daisy, you can't wear red. Everyone's going to dissect why you were doing it.
Do you know what? People said it and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about it, but it is thematic with the poster.
I was going to say that red font and everything.
Knowingly. It just, I was suddenly like, oh my God, I'm wearing red. And here we are.
Had you seen that poster before?
I had seen the poster on a tiny screen. I'd not seen the trailer.
It is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And what was it like watching that trailer in that room?
It was crazy because hilariously, I didn't really know Josh was like a massive fan of Star Wars. And there was one time I was talking to him when we were filming. And I was like, you're wearing an AT-AT t-shirt. That is pretty nerdy. Anyway, so he was behind me. So I was all like, and then I looked around and I was like, oh my God. And I had no idea what was in it. So I still feel a bit dazed.
Still like I have to go watch it again and again and again.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we learned today is that Luke and Rey's relationship may not be what she expected. What can you tell me about how their relationship evolves throughout the movie?
That's about all I can tell you. Just that I think it's just a level of expectation, and it's funny because I think Rey's expectation is also the audience's expectation. So it's the whole thing of what's been going on in the interim and all that kind of stuff as it unfolds. It's Rey's experiencing everything too, everyone's experiencing everything for the first time, so the audience kind of goes on that journey with her.
So you've left us a little worried in the Last Jedi panel because you said sometimes when you meet your hero, it's not what you've expected.
Yes.
What's going to happen with Luke?
I think a somewhat beginning of an explanation of that is Luke ending the trailer saying, "The Last Jedi, the Jedi must end." Is that what he says? The Jedi must end. Yeah. So I think that gives us a glimpse as to what it is, because what Rey is expecting, what the whole audience is expecting, is him to turn around and go, yeah, sure, I'll come back. And what the word am I thinking of? What happens next is open. It could go in so many different directions.
So now it seems like the future of the Jedi is on your shoulders. That's a bit scary, and I think maybe it's tougher with the training. You have a lot of stunts, or
I trained very hard for Force Awakens, and then when I came back to do The Last Jedi, I seemed to have pushed through something, so I trained really hard. So I was very proud of myself. So I think I did 99% of my stunts, which was cool. But I think a lot of it is the emotional thing. There is a lot of responsibility on Rey's shoulders, and a lot of again, people telling her that this is what you are and this is what you do, and she's like, oh, okay, if you say so, but she needs to uncover some stuff herself. So the whole thing is a journey, emotional and physical.
thank you so much.
So you and John are basically best friends. It must be amazing to be back on set with someone you're so close with.
Yes, but I did spend a lot of the film with Mark. So when me and John were reunited, we were like, hey, bro, how are you? It's wonderful, yeah.
Well, what would you say is John's worst on-set habit?
Oh my God, I don't think he has one.
No.
I think the thing that's for everyone else is people call us the kids. So when we're together, we're dancing and singing, and we're like, yeah, we've got to make a film here. Let's just make the film. But I don't think that's a bad habit. I think it's wonderful to share in love with someone that you love.
He did tell me that you sing too much, so.
He did? Traitor! Oh.
Now,
I have nothing.
In the panel, you touched on the idea that maybe you shouldn't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Now, the fans are already going wild about what this could mean. So what can you tell them?
I think what we saw in the trailer, with what Luke says at the end of the trailer, is kind of a hint as to what that is, because everybody, much like in The Force Awakens, everybody has these expectations for Rey, and she actually needs to figure stuff out herself and figure out what she wants. Much like with Luke, nobody knows what he's been doing. As far as we know, no one's been in contact with him and everything, so all these expectations we, as in Rey and the audience, have may not be what he wants or what transpires. So it will be a very interesting journey.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much. Can't wait for the film.